So today we have got presenting 4 of our fantastic researchers. First we have Dr. See Yuen. So please welcome her to the stage. And hello, Wing.
Thanks, Sarah. Oh. One moment.
We thought we had this sorted out and then it's just disappeared. Is that you?
Yes, but it's not on the presenter. I think that should do it. Sorry about that. So today I'll be presenting some work that we did in collaboration with Acheson and Cancer Institute New South Wales, which looks at alcohol-related behaviours, beliefs and knowledge regarding cancer risk related to alcohol in the New South Wales LGBTQ community. And this work will be informing a cancer screening campaign that's run jointly by Acheson and Cancer Institute New South Wales. So this was an online survey that we did of around 1,500 participants. Their average age was around 34 years, and the largest demographics for sexuality and gender identity were 50% gay or lesbian and 55% cisgender female. For more information, please check out poster 2. So going on to, more importantly, the alcohol statistics. So around 9 in 10 people had consumed alcohol in the past 12 months, which is pretty similar to the general population. I think the estimates are around 80%. But looking at the risky alcohol use, around 1 in 5 drank 11 or more drinks in a typical week, and 31% drank 5+ drinks on a typical drinking day. So these are both Australian government guidelines for safe alcohol use, essentially, or it's low-risk alcohol use, and these are the ones that exceeded that. And as part of this cancer screening campaign, we wanted to know how many people in this cohort were aware that cancer is related to alcohol use. And so we asked them to list off the top of their heads what health risks they thought were related to alcohol use, and around 1 in 3 were able to name cancer as a health risk of alcohol without needing any prompting. But then when we gave them a list of potential health risks and asked them to check the boxes for which ones they thought were related to alcohol, we found that around 2 in 3 indicated that they were aware to some degree that alcohol increases risk of cancer, and this includes that 1 in 3 that I mentioned earlier. And again, as part of this campaign, we also wanted to know how many people actually sought help to reduce their alcohol use, or at least thought about seeking help to reduce their alcohol use amongst the people who had exceeded the guidelines, and this was around 37%. Some common facilitators of seeking help were mostly around concerns around health and future health problems, improving fitness, wanting to lose weight. And barriers to seeking help were beliefs that they had reduced their alcohol use without seeking help, they did not feel ready to seek help, or they felt embarrassed, ashamed, or judged about seeking help. So all of this together will inform the campaign, which will hopefully improve knowledge of cancer risk with relation to alcohol, and also encourage help seeking in a non-judgmental way. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, next we have the wonderful, nearly docked up, Liam Acheson. Welcome.
Thank you and good morning. So today I'm going to be presenting some qualitative data, and this wasn't a separate qualitative study. This is really an investigation into the experiences of people who have already participated in a clinical trial, and how those experiences affected their ability to remain in the studies. So we know that retention is core to successful and trustworthy clinical trial results, but people who use drugs face unique and significant barriers to remaining in these trials, and these include things like pressure to achieve abstinence or stigma from healthcare services. Unfortunately, there is limited information available regarding the experience of trial participation in our cohorts. And what information that is available tends to be based around what we call hypothetical trials, where you sit down with someone and ask them, if we were to do this trial, what do you think would be the issues? But there's a significant lack of understanding of actual lived experience of clinical trial participation. So what we did in this study was we conducted some semi-structured interviews with clinical trial participants. And we did this between days 3 and 6 of admission to a hospital for a clinical trial to explore their experiences of said trial. And while not the intended purpose of the study, our participants spontaneously linked their experiences with the clinical trial to their subsequent and therefore related decision to remain enrolled in the study. And this is what I wanted to highlight today. So we found that good communication, particularly between researchers and participants, ensured that people were very well prepared and comfortable, and this fostered this sense of trust between staff and participants. However, when staff failed to communicate clearly and effectively, this actually had the opposite effect. Closely linked with this communication is the sense of trust, and trialists should really focus on ensuring a sense of care and respect for their participants. And this is, of course, primarily accomplished through communication. This can help create trusting relationships between a traditionally marginalized study population and the individuals who work in this setting, breaking down some of these traditional power imbalances. The way that we develop and present our research questions is actually fundamental to the experience of people who participate in clinical trials, and this is a very important consideration in future trial design. Some of the issues that we had in our trial could have been addressed prior to enrolling any participants if we sat down before the study started and went through the tools with some people with lived experience to ensure appropriateness for our data collection tools. The environment a clinical trial is conducted in is also essential and needs to be carefully considered. We did this study in a hospital, and hospitals have some benefits. They can provide a safe place for people, and a really well-prepared and caring clinical team was essential to creating this positive therapeutic environment that we did for our participants. However, hospitals are also a sterile, hard environment, and we ended up depriving some participants of the emotional comforts of home. So this requires very careful consideration for future clinical trials. We found that positive experiences of trial participants were related to people's subsequent decisions to remain enrolled in clinical trials, and future clinical trials can focus on fostering trusting relationships through good communication, enhancing participant agency, creating safe trial environments, and low-burden trial procedures, and this could all be nested within a co-design framework to improve the participant experience and hopefully improve retention rates. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Dr. Emily Deans. Please join us on stage, Emily.
Very good. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I definitely thought I was going to be in a small room out the back, so this is definitely a big stage for me, so bear with me. Before I get into what we did, I do also want to acknowledge my colleagues, particularly Sarah, for their guidance, their expertise and their support in getting this project over the line. So, AOD service providers can encounter challenges in addressing the issues faced by individuals with complex support needs. So complex support needs might mean a client with impaired cognitive functioning, co-occurring mental and physical illness, those with limited social support and limited connections, and those with engagement or contact with the criminal justice system. All of which may impact upon their capacity to stay engaged with treatment providers and complete treatment. So, what is this project about? NDARC collaborated with South West Sydney PHN and Rendu House, and I'm going to spotlight Christine and the Rendu House team. Stand up. Stand up. Give them a clap, yeah. Awesome team, awesome facilitators in psychoeducation. And we worked with these guys to evaluate the feasibility and acceptability of a newly designed psychoeducation program designed specifically for their clients who met complex needs. Also want to shout out to 360 Edge too, who were the module designers. Okay, so you can see from the slide our aims for today on spotlighting the impact of the program on participants' psychological distress, as measured by K10, which I'm sure we're all familiar with, and their substance use as measured by the ATOP. So they were two outcome measures among a few others that we looked at with this particular program. So good news, guys, good news. There were significant improvements in psychological distress among participants who completed those metrics at intake and discharge. Also, a reduction in the number of days alcohol and cannabis was used for, again, those participants who were able to complete those metrics at intake and discharge. So because I'm more of a qual girl, I've got a few quotes on the screen, and I just want to preface by saying the privilege of sitting down with clients who have been through, very, very complex and difficult journeys is a privilege, and I really enjoyed being able to hear their perspectives of the program. So you can see that they mirror, I guess, some of those results in the K10 and the ATOP. So client number 9, I really hope this program stays because it's really, really worked for me. And I remember talking to this particular client and she said, you know, if you need someone to jump on board some funding applications, let me know to make sure that this program gets continued support. Another client, they helped me big time with my anxiety, my mental health, physical health, and not to go back onto drugs and alcohol. Participant number 7, I had a great experience, taught me how to manage my anxiety. Our goal was to try and stop smoking a cone for when I walk out the front door. I'm probably about 60% there, not 100%, but my anxiety, I'm very in control of it now. So I love that participants were able to actually have a say. They mentioned outcomes that maybe we hadn't thought of as well, so there was flexibility with the way in which the program logic was designed to be able to map their specific individual goals as well. So if you have any other questions, flag down Christine, flag down Sarah or myself, and find the poster somewhere out there and have a chat. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, last up we have the wonderful Miss Toni Karlsson. Please join us on stage, Toni. Over to you.
Morning, everyone. So stigma has been shown to have an impact on multiple aspects of life and health, especially among people who use alcohol and other drugs. Whilst people who inject drugs experience stigma across multiple settings, including AOG treatment settings and general healthcare settings, little is known about experiences of stigma amongst other groups of people who use drugs. The aims of this research were twofold. Firstly, we aim to examine past 6 months' experience of stigma among 2 samples of people who use illegal drugs in 2022 and 2023. And secondly, we aim to examine socio-demographic, drug use and health factors associated with self-reported experiences of stigma when visiting healthcare services in 2022. Data were obtained from the EDRS and the IDRS. So the EDRS is an annual survey of people who regularly consume illicit stimulants, whilst the IDRS consists of an annual survey of people who regularly inject drugs. Both samples were recruited from all capital cities of Australia. So looking at the red text, 1/4 of EDRS participants reported experiencing stigma across multiple settings, compared to over half the IDRS participants. Across both samples, participants most commonly reported experiencing stigma in non-healthcare settings, most commonly from police. This was closely followed by general healthcare services, most commonly GPs. In 2023, previous experience of stigma resulted in both samples engaging in various forms of avoidance behaviours when visiting an AOD specialist or general healthcare service. The most common behaviours involved not telling health workers about their drug use, followed by delaying accessing healthcare and not attending follow-up appointments. Our regression analysis in 2022 found that being female and experiencing high psychological distress were associated with experiencing stigma across both samples. We also found that past year overdose was associated with experiencing stigma among the IDRS sample, whereas unstable housing and incomplete high school education was associated with experiencing stigma in the EDRS sample. Oh, sorry. Oh no, sorry. Sorry, everyone.
Something's disappeared.
I can't go back.
We might not be able to get it back in a rush, I'm afraid. Woohoo! Is that it?
Hooray, okay. So to conclude, our findings showed that experiencing stigma when visiting any healthcare or non-healthcare service was relatively common amongst the different populations of people who use drugs. Additionally, multiple indicators of disadvantage were found to be associated with experiencing stigma. There should be a universal precautions approach to stigma in healthcare, with all healthcare staff provided with appropriate training to reduce stigma and discrimination. Thank you.
Please join me in thanking our fantastic 3-minute speakers today. Thank you, everyone. You may now leave. Takes 3 minutes to give those presentations, but many, many more to present them, to develop them. So thanks, everybody.